Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. This is Shannon. I am so excited to have our guest on the show today, especially because he's going to talk about something that is one of my biggest weaknesses. And so welcome, Eddy, to the show.
It's a pleasure to be on here, Shannon. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, awesome. Well, first, let's just start off by you telling everyone a little bit about yourself, like who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Eddy Miranda, and I'm pretty much like a full stack marketer. You could consider me almost like a fractional CMO or CMO, which is a chief marketing officer. My background has really spanned about over 20 years. I'm not going to say my real age, but I'm a little bit over 40. But basically, at the age of 18, I got into graphic design because I was a graffiti artist in high school and I just didn't want to get caught by the cops or go to jail for that kind of stuff. So I ended up switching to digital. So I started doing flyers for a few flyer houses here inside of Miami, clubs, attorneys, brick and mortar stores. I pretty much ran the gamut. But in like 2008, when the whole depression kind of happened, let me start my own like printing company. And in that, I actually started learning how to do web design. And this wasn't like using WordPress or Shopify. Like I learned how to hand code the website, HTML, CSS, stuff like that. So I started learning the chops when it came down to that. In 2011, I actually got hired by a church here locally in Miami. I was already doing a bunch of volunteer work, doing some graphic design, but I got hired as a graphic designer and I was also their lighting director as well. So I kind of like mixed the both creative fields together when it came down to that. So it was really, really cool. But while I was working there, I started a company called Deem Design Studios, which was, on the design aspect, building social media ads, building print flyers, also website designs. And with the clients I ended up getting, it was a lot of fitness clients because that was the niche that I was kind of in. But I also got like Fortune 500 companies and conferences and things like that. So I helped them build their websites, email marketing, things like that. I learned a lot about like remarketing and social media marketing when it came to me building and helping with these companies. And then in 2016, 2017, I was like, since I was in bodybuilding and fitness, I was like, well, let me start a fitness page. And I started with a page called Men's Physique News. And I kind of grew that within like 8 to 9 months to about 35,000 followers just on one page. I had two other pages with like another 10 to 15,000 followers. So I grew pretty rapidly and I started utilizing that, started learning. So I started learning how to do interviews and basically editing videos and like just traveling and doing production and all this stuff. So it was a lot of fun stuff. But during COVID, like both those companies kind of came to a halt because basically the landscape kind of changed when COVID happened. And my wife was already going into like the network marketing side of things. And me in helping her out with her venture, I actually found funnels, ads, and even, drop shipping and things like that. So like I started learning on all that stuff and helping her out. But that took a humongous catalyst in 2020 when I made that pivot and I turned into a network marketing coach and helping our team and how to scale our team and everything like that. So all the years of experience that I had in branding, relationship marketing, everything like that kind of came together. And that went pretty well for a while. But in 2022, I actually had a humongous opportunity. I've been on my own for, so many years, ever since I left the church. And basically, I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody else, except if it's for ClickFunnels or somebody like Grant Cardone. And I so happen to have the opportunity to work inside the office over at Grant Cardone's office or for Cardone Enterprises as a digital marketing specialist. And basically, I came in there as, let's say, a creative guy for the ads team. Like I helped them with all the creatives, but since I knew funnels, I knew ads, I knew how to build stuff, I knew every aspect of the marketing department that they had on there, it grew very quickly for me to become the digital marketing manager for one of Grant Cardone's silos and basically exploded the silo to record-breaking sales, record-breaking webinars, live webinars, and events, on top of all the other events and all the other campaigns that I helped them actually elevate. And because of the fact that, like, I was spending so much time in the office, I really wanted to be home with my family as much as possible because I was so used to that lifestyle. Had an opportunity to move to a company called Contract Independence, where I was the head of marketing for that company. In 3 months, I was able to double their sales from $50,000 to $100,000 in initial sales each and every single month. And then from there, I actually started taking on additional positions as fractional CMOs for companies like HL Pro Tools, which is like a white label support for Go High Level. And I also worked for a short little stint with Brandon Turner, doing the same things that I was doing for Grant Cardone over there at Cardone Enterprises. I started doing that for Brandon Turner as well, with self-liquidating offers and helping them with book of call funnels and setting up their sales team and everything like that. So that's just like a little, I guess, backstory of like where I've come and like the experience that I kind of have.
Holy shitballs. I have so many thoughts, even starting with like, if y'all don't know, being in charge of visual and graphics and lighting at a church is actually a production. Like that's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
So that's a big deal. Hey, retreat leaders. Are your retreats the hidden gems of the travel world just waiting to be discovered? Well, it's time to shine a spotlight on them. Introducing the ultimate guide you've been waiting for, our free guide, Top 11 Tips for Building an Email List for you, the retreat leaders. Imagine an email list packed with eager attendees, hanging on to your every word and ready to book at the click of a button. We share the blueprint to creating a list that sells. Don't miss out on the action. Learn how to connect deeply with your audience, boost your bookings, and create a buzz that fills every retreat. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, these 11 tips are your secret weapon to success. Visit retreatleaderlistbuilding.com now to grab your free copy and start building an email list that sells out your retreats. I love Grant Cardone, but love him or hate him, his marketing is top notch. Like, yes. He knows what he's doing, right? Or his team knows what he's doing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, mostly his team, but yes.
I'm sure. Trust me, I'm sure. And so like, holy cow. And not only that, but you started marketing and social media back when a lot of people didn't even know what social media was used for, right? So you've seen it change and grow. I've been hosting retreats for over 10 years, and I can tell you this, my limited experience. When I first started hosting retreats, Instagram wasn't even here, y'all. Okay. It's obviously nothing else was. It was only Facebook and maybe MySpace was still around. I can't even remember. But marketing back then, I could spend like $20 and I'd get this huge response because, it was me and how many people were on there. I don't know. But it was a whole different ball game, and ads were not nearly what they are today. It was like I could boost a post or I could boost something and that would be enough, right? And so obviously over the course of the last 10 to 12 years, it's changed significantly. And so you've seen those changes from start to here and have been intricately involved in those changes. That's huge.
Yeah, I totally remember when I was running like Men's Physique News, like reels were nowhere in sight, like stories just started happening. And back then, I will tell you, it was a lot easier to build an audience. And the thing is too, it's like, I didn't just build an audience just by like posting. I took a couple different angles when I came to building those pages, and it was a lot of relationship building. And I think that's even true to today, because even if you do want to build a big social media account and influence, interacting with other people's accounts or doing kind of like what we're doing and like stepping on other people's platforms, that is really the key for you to grow your accounts and have that exponential growth. That was a trick that I used back in 2017, 2018, 2019, was able to get those accounts to 100,000. I think collaboratively, all the accounts was like 160,000 followers, but I would have never been able to get there if it wasn't for the relationships that I built, not only with the athletes, but the vendors, the sponsors, everything like that. So if you just build relationships, you're going to grow exponentially on any platform that you have.
Oh, I love hearing this. So, because I'm watching the market, and I've seen the market grow and change for retreat hosts and retreat leaders. And, today's retreat host and retreat leader that's brand new, they genuinely think they can just throw something on social media and they're all of a sudden going to have their out. And it's like, that shit didn't work back then. It sure as hell is not working today. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not how social media is designed.
Right.
And I also will say, you have to know your niche market. What generation are they? What platform are they even on? Are you speaking their language? You know, most of my guests for my retreats that I host are mostly on Facebook. For me, you know, the Instagram and the TikTok, don't get me wrong, I'm on them for sure, but I'm getting like just fun stuff on there, right? I'm not getting a whole lot of business on there. And that's not to say that you can't, because you absolutely can. That's just not where my demographic is for my retreat guests. And so I think it's important too to know who your demographic is. Where do they spend time at on social media? And then build those relationships that you're talking about. You cannot just throw shit out there and go, why is no one signing up?
Yeah. And you strike a very good point, right? Because the way they kind of look at it, like whenever a client comes to me, is like, hey, I have this and this niche, or I work in this and this niche. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to consider where the audience is at. Like, not every single platform is created equally. Every single platform has a purpose, right? Facebook is awesome for building relationships. Honestly, that's where I get majority of my revenue from, is from Facebook, because that's where a lot of the marketers at. They're in groups, they're trying to find like the new thing, you know, in order to help them with their ads or with their social media, right? But then you also got to look at other platforms, like what do other people use other platforms for, and how is your market related to that? So like YouTube is great if you are selling a product or a tool that people are normally looking for, right? So for instance, I'm going to take like HL Pro Tools for an example. Like, we have ads on Meta and we have ads on Google. Well, because people are physically searching or, you know, researching basically the products, then we get a lot of hits on Google more than we would on Meta. Like, we get a lot more sales on Google than we would on Meta. But you also got to consider too, it's like, okay, do you have a financial product, a very high-end product, that's something that a lot of CEOs would want to consider? Well, you may want to consider X, because a lot of higher end people are on X, and they normally wouldn't be on any other platform. And the reason why they're on X is because they're looking for news. They want to see what's kind of going on. And you have all these big, humongous CEOs and influencers on X using that as a platform in order to get their information. So you really got to kind of see where your niche and your audience is at in order for you to be able to play the game on that platform that's going to be best suited for you. And usually I will tell you, focus on one platform, like master that one platform. So like, for instance, if you're an e-com store, and I'm just taking this, like, I know this for retreat people, but like, let's say you have an e-com store. Well, TikTok's amazing. Like, it's bangers for selling e-com, right? So again, you got to evaluate where your niche is, where your audience is, and then you have to play your strengths on that platform.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's okay if you're like, my theory is you can be on all the platforms and you could do minimal effort on some of them. And that's really it's almost like a resume, right? People will go and look like, who is this person? Who's Shannon Jamel? And I'm going to go look for her on all these platforms. But there is one specifically, typically, maybe two, right? One or two that you really can gain business in. And that's where you want to spend the most of your time. That's where you want to spend the time building the relationships. That's where you want to spend the time and ad money. Like, that's where you want to be, right? And so for me, it's 100% Facebook. That's where I spend any kind of money. Obviously, I spend enough because they have assigned me my own Meta person who calls me. And it's probably because I'm doing it all wrong. But anyways, you want to narrow that down. I have the stupidest question, because I'm going to show you how ignorant I am in some of this. Does X do ads too?
Yes, it does.
It does. See, I had no idea.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people don't think of it, but yes, X does do ads. They've been doing it for a while, even before Elon came along. But I would tell you something, for what it is not the most robust system. There's still a couple of things in there that, like, if you're used to like Meta ads or even TikTok ads, because they work almost pretty similar, you'll find certain things that you're going to have to like jump hurdles in order to try to make it work. But yes, you can run ads. I think the best that you could use for it, a lot of people with e-com stores are using that, a lot of politicals, of course, because of the fact of the cycle that's happening right now. But I've seen a bunch of finances or promoting their events. So I've seen those ads work really, really well on X. I'm actually talking to a whole lot of other people to see like what's kind of working for them, you know, what niches that they're working in, and see how it's working, you know, because I've been on X, and the niches that I have worked on, especially like real estate, they haven't been as lucrative as what Meta has done, but I have seen other success stories on X as well that people are doing really, really well on there that's actually outbeating Meta for them.
Okay, so once again, it comes down to knowing your audience and where they spend the time, and then that's where you
Exactly.
spend your time and money. Okay, we both agree that Meta is a great platform for probably a good chunk, whether you're X, Z, Y generation, there's a good chunk of people who are going to Facebook. And then, a lot of the ads, they cross over into Instagram anyway. So if you've got a bulk on Instagram, it's still, a good place to be. So I want to narrow in on that. Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too. Give us a couple of just tips because I just got to tell you, every time I go in there to do an ad, I'm like, oh, holy hell. Like, it feels so complicated to me. And I know that, gosh, I feel like the old lady that is like refusing to learn something new. So anyway, what kind of tips can you tell us when it comes to Meta ads?
So the thing is like, don't overcomplicate it. The thing that I will tell you about Meta ads is that they're overall trying to simplify as much as possible on the ad platform. So if you see things like Advantage Plus audiences, if you see things like Advantage Plus placements, whenever you see something like that, or Advantage budget optimization, things like that, like utilize those things because they're trying to simplify the platform as much as possible, especially on the audience section of it. And I know that that's where a lot of people have their hangups, like, oh, how do I target? Like, what interest base do I do? How do I build my audiences? Things like that. At the end of the day, like, throw that out the window because, like, I can run campaigns and I will never touch the audiences and I could get amazing, amazing results. Because at the core of it, what's really kind of happening on the Meta platform, and you can even take this into TikTok as well, because TikTok's very simplified with their platform as well, is that everything lies on the creative. So what you used to do before with targeting, right, pre-iOS 14, like, hey, I want to be able to get all these entrepreneurs, so I'm going to target Grant Cardone, I'm going to target Russell Brunson, I'm going to target all these high-end entrepreneurs so I can get their audiences. Well, if you go in there, like, you're not even going to be able to select those names anymore anyways. So what you have to do is, like, on the actual creative, where the copy is like, you actually have to call out your avatar. So you have to be a little bit specific. It could be, I'm looking for entrepreneurs that are making $250,000 a year or more, right? You have to get very, very specific because now what's going to end up happening is that Meta is going to take that information. It's going to read your copy. That's why, like, sometimes things get kicked back super quick because it's AI skimming through everything first, because they're using AI as much as possible on the platform to, work with the algorithms and everything like that. But utilize your copy as much as possible to target your ideal clients. And then just let Facebook do the work. Like, you don't have to put any interest base or anything like that. As long as you are very, very methodical on how you're making your creatives and calling out your avatar and making sure that it speaks to the audience that you're trying to get to, then your targeting just becomes so much better, so much sharper, and you're going to get much better results without overcomplicating anything inside the actual ad platform.
Oh my gosh. Like, we needed this conversation 5 years ago. I can't tell you how much I overcomplicate it.
Well, 5 years ago, it was pre-iOS 14. And I mean, because it was pre-COVID, and during the whole COVID pandemic, that's when they switched everything. And I was not, able to do targeting like the way that you're talking about, right? Like, yeah, it has gotten expensive. I used to get really, really cheap leads back before COVID, but like ever since then, like you were able to do it that way. You were able to get complex and everything like that. But ever since that switch, that's just completely changed it. And simplification has just been the name of the game. So I would say, like, yeah, 5 years ago, I wouldn't say like that wouldn't have taken effect like what I was telling you. It would be more like 3 years ago, So like, and here's the thing that a lot of people don't know, or a lot of people don't get out of the habit of. It's like they have pre-iOS trainings and tactics that they've used, and they're still using that to today, But Facebook is far beyond that right now. And that you don't need those kinds of tactics like the interest base. And I need this many ad sets to test all these different audiences. And that's like all out the window now.
Because what I'm hearing, it makes so much sense, is that your copy first, right? And then, of course, the creative that goes with it, right? But your copy, because it's all algorithm based and AI based and search based, right? So this shit's so intuitive that I think if I even say cowboy boots, all of a sudden all these cowboy boots are coming up on my, Meta platform. So if you're even if you even spend a half a second longer on a retreat, right, or whatever it is on the platform, next thing you know, those kind of ads are going to start popping up, right? So you're right. It's so intuitive now, and it's very much behavior and interest driven just by your actions that I didn't even think of that. You don't even have to go in there and get so complicated with it. Holy cow.
No, you don't. And the thing is, like, you're funny that you say that, because like I work with clients, like when I worked for Contract Independence, I was working with their ads, but then all of a sudden, just because I was working on their stuff, like I started getting a slew of ads from all the other competitors and see what everybody else was doing. But just like the other day, I was, doing an audit for a client, which owns a print on demand store. And then all of a sudden, I'm start getting all these print on demand stuff. So yeah, it's super intuitive. Just the moment that you click on something, then you're going to start getting like all those ads are related to it.
Yeah. So I love this. So super simple, like really. And I think too, correct me if I'm wrong, but they kind of reward you for listening to them, right? So like if they're saying, I recommend this, and you ignore it, then they're like, well, I'm going to slow this shit down then. But if you say, yep, let me just make those adjustments, because I've seen that on my own ads where my Meta person calls me and we put together an ad, and then there's like recommendations. And if I listen to them, because they'll tell you every few days if there's a recommendation, if there is one, I go in and say, yep, agree, adjust, whatever. And then it starts getting more traction again. And so it's almost like if you listen to what they're recommending, they almost reward you with it.
Yeah, they do. And you'll actually see, like, let's say you're running a campaign with a couple ad sets, it may tell you, hey, these ad sets are similar, so just combine everything. And that's true. Like I've actually done that. Like I'll be running, let's say like 3 different ad sets. One is like abroad, another one has a lookalike audience, and another one's retargeting, specifically just for retargeting. And then Meta will be like, hey, just combine all this stuff together. And I will combine all that stuff together, and my acquisition has actually dropped. So yes, do listen to it. But if you're doing some things intentionally, there's a but for this. If you're doing some things intentionally, for instance, like you want to retarget a specific audience that landed on the page, but you don't want to retarget anybody else because you want to send a specific message out to them, then totally avoid trying doing the suggestions. But other than that, if you are trying to improve performance and a few other things that make sense for you to make that, then absolutely do it.
Okay, that makes sense. So the retargeting is, let's say, it's obviously able to figure out that these people landed and did nothing with it. You would retarget an ad that says, hey, we noticed you liked us, but you didn't do anything with us, type of thing. I'm making this shit up, but you know what I mean? Yeah, so obviously you would leave that alone and not listen to whatever they're recommending, because you are specifically talking to that person who didn't do anything with your information. Okay, that makes so much sense. Hey guys, I'm popping in to ask a quick question. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game and fill those retreat slots faster than ever? Of course you are. That's why you're here. And we've got the toolkit for you, our top 5 marketing tools for retreat leaders guide. This isn't just a guide. It's your marketing guru wrapped up in one easy-to-follow package. Dive into the essentials of social media marketing, where we show you how to leverage those platforms to create a community buzzing with excitement for your retreats. Also, unleash the power of content marketing with strategies that educate and engage your potential guests. Plus, we'll dive into email marketing, SEO, and partnership opportunities that open new doors and bring in streams of attendees. So why wait to make your retreats the talk of the town? Download your free guide today by visiting retreatmarketingtools.com and start transforming your retreat dreams into reality. This is amazing. So let me ask you this. If someone needs help, Eddy, and they are like, I am sucking at this marketing and ad game with any of the platforms, can you help them?
Absolutely. So I have 2 programs. Basically, one is a one-on-one coaching where I actually sit with you every single week and we go over what's actually going on in your ad platforms to kind of help you out. I'll also help you out with your funnels or any strategies that you're trying to work with in order to generate more sales or more leads or whatever the case may be. But I also have a fractional CMO where I actually get more granular into your business and act as a marketing officer inside of your business and kind of help you with strategy, tracking, help you elevate and strategically change the structure of your marketing department so that you can get better results for what you're kind of getting. Because a lot of times people get kind of stuck. It's like, hey, I'm making sales, but I'm trying to get to the next level in my business. But I know my marketing is not where it's at, where it needs to be. And I just need to strategically make that change in order for me to be able to scale. And I'm there to be able to help out with that.
Sweet. And if they want to get a hold of you, we will put everything in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to pause this and then get into the show notes, you can. But for those that like to hear it audibly, how can they get a hold of you? Do you want to shout out your website, or how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, just specifically for this podcast, there's going to be a book a call link, and just book a call with me. You're going to answer a couple pre-qualifying questions, and we could jump on a call and see how I can help you out.
Sweet. Thank you, Eddy, so much. I can't tell you how much you've helped me personally. So I know for a fact you've helped other folks on this podcast. So thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing how this can be so successful.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on here, Shannon.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.